Well, the time has come upon us again where we will take another look at another chapter of the Bible. We are in Ecclesiastes chapter 4 today, and if you would like our PDF that has all the key information on it, you can download it at tobelikechrist.com. And so let's get into it. Let's take a look at our first page, which we've been looking at short summaries of each chapter to give us kind of the bird's eye view of Ecclesiastes. So in chapter 1, we talked about Solomon declaring that all of life is vanity. In chapter 2, we talked about some of the things that he had tested to reach that conclusion. Chapter 3, we talked about the cycle of life, God creating everything beautiful in its time, God putting the knowledge of eternity into men's hearts. Now in chapter 4, Solomon's going to continue to give us some reasons why he has declared that life is vanity. And he's really going to mention 4 here, which I think we'll just go ahead and go over to page number 2 and get into the details to look at those 4 a little closer. Taking a look at Solomon's first reason that life is vanity, we're going to look at verses 1 through 3, an oppressive life. Solomon pointed out that life can be very oppressive, and there's not a lot that you can do about it all the time. The weak are oppressed by the powerful, and the powerful have all the power, and so there's not really anything the weak can do about it. Solomon counted those who were already dead to be more fortunate than those who are still alive, because at least the dead have escaped the oppression and the misfortunes of the world. But better still, he said, were those who were never actually born at all, because they never had to live in a world where all this injustice and all this oppression happens. So we're starting off in a very positive way today. That brings us down to Solomon's second reason, verses 4 through 6. Hard work or laziness, both can ruin you. Solomon observed that the only reason that some men work hard and strive for things is because they're jealous of what their neighbors have, and they covet what their neighbors have. So even this virtue of hard work isn't even always motivated by good motives and a good heart. Now, on the opposite extreme, there's also a problem. Solomon had observed lazy people who were so lazy and refused to work that they destroyed themselves in their sloth. So work hard or be lazy, both ends, vanity. All right, now section number 3, verses 7 through 12. 2 are better than 1. Another vanity that Solomon saw on the earth, saw playing out in the world, was that men would work their whole lives to get riches and possessions, but they had no family, no loved ones, no friends to share them with or to pass them on to after they died. He talks about how they work so hard, but they never asked, wait a second, why am I working so hard? Who am I working for? Because I'm not going to be around forever. They never stopped to ask that question. He says, that kind of work, it's vanity. What a wasted life to accumulate wealth without people who love you, to pointlessly fill your bank account so that you can leave it to nobody. Solomon went on to extol the benefits and the beauty of companionship in a section that's really reminiscent of the Proverbs, if he did that study with us, saying 2 are better than 1, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. It's better to be 2 or 3 people than to be by yourself, even if being by yourself, you've achieved a lot of things and you have a lot of possessions. And now finally, in verses 13 through 16, fame is fleeting. Solomon described a young man who rose up, ascended out of poverty to the throne of a very great kingdom, and he ruled innumerable people during his lifetime. But Solomon says that in a few generations, won't be too many years until nobody remembers this guy. He may have been the king. Nobody's going to remember him in a couple generations. Fame and power are short-lived. They're vanity, they're striving after wind, Solomon declares. And if you think about it, that's true. Like, there are many people who are super important in their own generation, but how many people do you actually remember from 400 years ago, 500 years ago? Maybe a handful of the really, really famous people who've been passed down through history, but think of how many self-important people there were during all those generations and how few of them you actually remember. The percentage is minuscule. So that's our study in chapter 4 today, and those are Solomon's 4 reasons, continuing this discussion about the vanity of life. Now let's go down and talk about our application for today. It isn't wrong to strive to achieve things, but it is wrong to strive to achieve things to the detriment of the important relationships in our lives. God has given us a responsibility to our spouse, to our children, to our relatives, and to our church family. If your financial portfolio is growing, but your important relationships are all crumbling around you, it's time to start rethinking your priorities. And I think this is definitely an application that probably is going to more men need. I think this is definitely something men trend towards. This is a sin that's more prevalent in men. So we sometimes have the priority to want to achieve, but we end up neglecting what's at home and what's in our churches. And when we find ourselves doing that, we need to be rethinking where our priorities are. Don't be the vain fool who meticulously manages his bank account while simultaneously failing to give the necessary attention to the souls that are entrusted to you by God. Thanks for studying with me today. Lord willing, we'll be back to tackle chapter 5 tomorrow.